November 4th at 6 p.m. And I'd like to call the regular Board of Trustees meeting to order. And I'll have a short invocation, as we do every week. Father, we ask for your wisdom, guidance, and discernment in the decisions we make that affect our village and its residents. We also ask you to watch over our police and other first responders and all who serve. Thank you. And roll call.
Trustee Keller.
Here.
Trustee McGurran.
Here.
Trustee Nelson.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
Trustee Pike.
Here.
Trustee Porter.
Here.
And President Wecken.
Here. Okay, item 3, comments from the floor limited to 3 minutes per speaker. What's that?
2.
Ooh, I skipped 2. All right. I had checked it off from the last meeting. Review and approve the minutes of the regular board meeting from October 7th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Thanks, Brian. Is there
Second.
a second?
John, second.
John, thank you. Any discussions, additions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor of the minutes as presented, signal by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Okay, now we'll get to item 3. Comments from the floor. Opportunity for Village of North Hudson residents, property owners, business owners to make the board aware of new topics, issues, opportunities not on today's agenda for consideration for future meetings. Is there anyone in the crowd that would like to address the board? Seeing none. We'll go on to item 4. New business from the board or staff. It is first is president's comments, and I would personally like to thank everyone for their prayers during my recent illness. They obviously worked because I'm feeling much better than I was, and I can't thank you enough for the power of prayer. And next week, there's a couple of those military cells on the 10th, and Veterans Day is on the 11th. And the veterans, usually the VFW and the American Legion usually have a program up at the St. Croix County Courthouse at 11 a.m. That's not confirmed, but watch the paper, watch Facebook, because it's always a good program, and it's a good day we should honor our vets every day, but it's one that we finally get to celebrate. So that's just a reminder. And then we have happy and safe Thanksgiving. I mean, it's coming up, and it's one of my favorite holidays. But I think it's a good, the travel time and stuff. So maybe sure everybody pays attention for that. And then I'd like to thank Todd Wolf. He's been a member of the park board for many, many years, and he decided that it was time to retire hanging up from the park board. So I just wanted to make a comment for everybody that he's been a good asset to that group, and we're thankful for his volunteering. Okay. Gina, what do you got?
I have 3 items today. The first is I just wanted to make everybody aware that the waste management breach of contract letter that was discussed in our last meeting was sent by certified mail last week. I have been in contact with the representative of Waste Management. They will plan on providing written comments back within the 10-day window in which we added into our letter, and then with the goal of a 30-day correction. Tim has expressed an interest in coming to speak to the board in December. And so with that, I will likely ask to have that 30 days extended to give him time to present their solutions and to come talk to the board directly. So we need to talk about how that will play out, but they have received the letter and they are working on a written response in our 10-day window. So I will share that with you guys when we receive that. The second item I wanted to touch on is the comprehensive plan. A lot of energy around it right now, which is fantastic. I did want to clarify, I believe I caused some confusion in unintentionally. When we met in August, we met and had the public hearing, which was required as a part of the comprehensive plan, and we used a document that had been created and maintained by the county from the beginning, and that documentation was out on the county's website, and had been owned by Nicole, and had done a great job, and that was the document that was used in the public hearing. When we moved into the discussion amongst the committee members for the Plan Commission in the September meeting, there was a lot of dialogue of a lot of proposed changes. And so what Nicole and I had talked and met about is, because we didn't know how those changes would be accepted, I made a working document that was a copy, a version of Nicole, so that we weren't touching the master plan. When I did that, the copy paste doesn't allow for you to copy over formatting and page numbers and all that sort of stuff. But that's the document we used to facilitate those discussions in September. That's also the document then that was used in October to say, this is what we believe we heard was requested from the comprehensive, of the comprehensive plan from the Plan Commission. Once they agreed that those were the right changes, Nicole and I sat down and made sure that the master version, the version that the county had been owning from the beginning, was updated to reflect the changes that was requested by the Plan Commission and noted in that working document. So as of today, as of right now, the document that is out on the county project page, so they created the project page for us when they took on this project, that document is the current master document. I will be happy to have the website for that again posted in our meeting minutes, because I think previously, all the comprehensive plan meetings and discussions were happening by the county, and so there was a little confusion as to where the source of truth is. The source of truth continues to be the county document. That is updated. Nicole has updated that with all of the discussions that came through Plan Commission. So that'll be the document that we'll then use to eventually come to the board with. That being said, we put a pause on having that reviewed by the board because I think a lot of you are aware, we tried to be very transparent in the communication, that as Nicole and I were reviewing the documents, there was some questions on two of the maps within that comprehensive plan. The one is in the existing land use map for 2024. That was provided as a part of that document. That existing land use map had a discrepancy on it that, as we started to question it and look into it, we realized that it was not representing the current existing use of a couple of parcels in the village. And we know that because that existing land use map is supposed to use assessor data. We're not talking zoning, it's a different map. The land use map should represent assessor data. When we went to check with the assessor, what was on our map in 2024 and what the assessor was stating was his data, those did not match. So that needed to be corrected. So that's issue number one. I think we've made all of those, found all of the discrepancies and have a recommendation for a new existing use map for 2024. The second then was a zoning map accuracy question. This came about from multiple perspectives, but most notably in the same meeting that these maps were being discussed, or I'm sorry, the comp plan was being discussed, there was some zoning requested changes. One of the zoning requested changes came in and the applicant brought forward that there was some concern or some thoughts that one of the parcels that person wanted to have rezoned was mapped incorrectly in our zoning map. We've been doing some research. We'll continue to do some research. Everything that we are finding will be brought to, and I need Paul to sit and think, does it go back to plan? What we find, does it come to the board? How do we want to progress with that? But the research that is being found will be provided to the public, will be provided to the proper committee for decisions about what to do or not do with those findings. So until both of those things can be corrected, the comp plan is kind of sitting, waiting for us to get these two things right. It's important for all of us that these things are right before we approve another 10-year plan, because it's going to allow for us to make the right decisions moving forward. So, so that's where the comprehensive plan is. And again, it's just working through some details and some findings, so.
That's all you
The
got?
last one is just, we processed 9 building permits in October, so we're still going. That's all I have.
9 new building permits?
So it can be for decks and fences.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gonna say, I didn't know we had that many open lots. Alrighty then. Item 5, review motion to approve new signers on court banking account approval requested.
Stan, I move to authorize Stan Wecken, Village President, Nathan Troster, Treasurer, and Gina Alberti, Administrator/Clerk, to have full access to the North Hudson Municipal Court Bank account at Midwest One Bank. This authorization includes the ability to conduct official municipal financial transactions such as deposits, withdrawals, transfers, and account management.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a second?
A second.
Thanks, John. Any discussion?
I thought we did
This-
this already.
I was going to say,
did.
this looks familiar.
Right.
It is. The previous motion said that those representatives should have full access to the Village of North Hudson court bank account, and the Midwest Bank needed for it to say municipal court bank account.
All in the details.
So we are asking for a reauthorization.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, but like we said, we've already approved this before. We've been doing it for a lot of years, so. Okay, and there's no spending, so all in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, item 6, review motion to approve the appointment of Sarah Schwabach to fill the Board of Park Commissioners vacancy from Todd retiring. Approval requested. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the appointment of Sarah Schwabach to fill the Board of Park Commissioners vacancy.
Thank you, Mary. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Barb. Discussion? No, I've heard, Sarah's been very active with, she's got small children, she's very active in the parks, I understand, and I think she'll be a very good asset to the group, you know, to get a little new blood in there, and hopefully, it'll work out.
I would agree with that. Just a clerical, the term then, she will take over the remaining term for Todd, and that is due to end in May of 2026. She would then be eligible at that point to continue with the position for the next 3-year term if she wanted to, and hopefully she does. But yes, she's been very active recently, has a really positive, high energy, and I think she'll be a great asset as well.
Well, that's good. And a lot of times it's not easy to get people to volunteer in these commissions and committees, so. Okay, all in favor of the appointment of Sarah Schwalbach to the park boards, they're saying aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Plan Commission, Paul, you got anything for us?
Well, we had a meeting. We had a lot to talk about at the meeting. And, you know, the first thing was the comprehensive plan. I think we've covered that. The Plan Commission voted to approve it subject to fixing the maps and whatever. So that process, as Gina explained, is ongoing. The other second item was the rezoning for Bruce Lenzen down by the river. I think everybody's familiar with those parcels. After a lot of discussion, Plan Commission recommended to rezone to multifamily what we called the northern parcel, which is the parcel north of the dam. And they essentially tabled any action on the southern portion, trying to get some more information on the project and how DNR may react to that. And the third was the parking lot for Browns Beach. And that Plan Commission, I'm not gonna say confused, but they didn't feel that they were given enough information to make a decision on that, because there was some people saying it was an 11 spot, some people saying it was a 4 spot, and the plan that was given was, I think, 7 spots. So Plan Commission decided, we're not gonna make a decision on that. We need more information as to what the real deal's is going on here, so that's where that one was left, to get input from the committees or from whoever was planning that, to make a decision as to what they want to propose to the Plan Commission. So,
Alrighty then. Anything else? Any questions for Paul about that?
So that came up from Park,
I
the request?
think so, yeah.
Yes,
It was approved
but-
by the board. It was recommended by Park and came to the board, and it was approved by the board, and then it went back to plan, so it's really owned by the board.
Okay.
It was a funding decision.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 8, Personnel and Finance Committee recommendations. And a pile of them, so, claims, approval requested.
Stan, can I move to approve the November 2025 recurring claims of $279,472.30?
I'll second.
Thank you. Kirk, thanks Dusty. Any comments or questions from any of the other board members?
Anything out of the ordinary?
Nothing out of the ordinary. The largest expense is our annual bond payment for the Highway 35 project from 2021. So again, planned and expected. That accounted for $184,000 of the roughly $279,000. The rest of the items were approved work from previous meetings for wood chippers and crosswalks and other items. So EAB trees was a big portion of that too, so. The rest of the remaining expenses of $13,000 were almost entirely made up of the daily operation expenses.
Question?
Yep.
The emerald ash borer tree removal, that was paid for by grant partially?
Yes, yep. We had a combination, I think there's $5,000 of grants. $5,000 was approved through this committee throughout 2024, and then the remainder of it was money that had set aside at the beginning of budget season.
Thank you.
And we will be requesting additional funds to continue with any additional tree removal in 2026.
Boy, and there's a boatload of those things in town yet, holy cow. Okay, any other discussion on the claims? Hearing none, Brian?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. All right, item B, review of proposed 2026 annual budget, discussion only. Gina, you wanna?
I sure do. So, we've got a draft proposed budget that did get sent to the newspaper, that will be reviewed by this committee in a special finance meeting scheduled for Monday, November 24th at 5 p.m. right here in the Village Boardroom. So the publication of that public hearing, like I said, went out. You should see that in the newspaper to this Thursday. It is also the notice of that public hearing with the proposed budget is also on our website for anybody that is interested. The format is similar to previous years, but we tried to clean it up a little bit. I think there was a couple areas in the format where there was replication of the same data that may have caused some confusion. So if it looks a little shorter and smaller, it is. We removed any duplication to avoid confusion. The couple of things that we'll point out in this meeting, and then we'll go into detail in the meeting on the 24th, is that you will see that our property tax levy is showing up a negative percent change, so our top property tax levy is going down by 4.31%. That is expected for a couple of reasons. The biggest reason being there's, and we'll talk about it later in this meeting, there's a proposal to move funds to help pay for fire protection services out of the levy and make those payments of that service out of a fee-based approach instead of a levy-based approach. If any of you were in the meetings from 2 months ago, we had Ellers come and speak to this. They referred to it as line Q adjustment because it's line Q on the municipal budget where you're able to do this. So there's many benefits to it, which Brian spoke to, but that reduction in the levy is representing that change that we're doing with the fire. So that came down by $90,000. It's not a one-for-one because we did also have an increase in some of the levy because of new construction. So it wasn't a straight $90,000, but that's why you'll see that go down. And then a few lines down, there's a public charges for services of $165,650. That is where those fees now will be collected and are showing as revenue for 2026 in that category. So coming out of levy, going into public charges. The use of available fund balance, you'll see at the bottom of the revenue for $250,000. What we are proposing for 2026 is that we use $250,000 of our unassigned funds for 3 different sets of projects, which we'll talk about here in a minute. That will allow for us to use some of those dollars without impacting any of our current investments. And so I think that was the number that was recommended. As we look at the last kind of category on the all municipal fund balances, you'll see that the sewer repair and maintenance fund is showing a negative $167,934. We'll talk about that in one of these motions coming up, but that is an intentional negative. We're doing that so we can pay ourselves back for a loan that was made out of our general fund to that sewer fund in a prior year. With the consolidation kind of on the horizon, we want to make that whole again before we go into the consolidation. The goal then would be to combine that fund with 2 down from there as a sewer replacement surcharge fund, which has $496,000 in it. When we go to combine those 2 funds, then we'll end up with a positive roughly $300,000 balance for sewer-related fund items. So it's just a move to become whole and then consolidate and get us down to that one account. The biggest change I think that you'll see is our mill rate, which again is based on the assessed value of our properties. Our village mill rate continues to be amongst the lowest in the state, was last year at 2.84. With the changes that we're recommending by the lowering of that levy, we'd be looking at 2.68, which is a decrease of 5.5%. So again, that mill rate continues to go down, in this case for good reason, because we're moving to that fee-based approach. All in all, the budget is balancing, which is always good. The 3 high-level requests that were approved to use the use of assigned or the use of unassigned to assigned funds would be $22,000 and $22,300 for some public works capital purchases, $90,000 to sidewalks, which will again complete the sidewalk inventory that we had done. So the remainder of the sidewalks that did not get done this year, the $90,000 would complete those, and $137,000 will go to the park board for purchase of their new playground equipment in Chief Jansen. That'll be in addition to the $55,000 that is already in that park board fund, giving them close to $190,000 to spend in 2026. It's 2025 now.
Great work.
Question, Gina?
Yes.
I understood the reason that we would go to the line Q is to give ourselves some room in the levy, that we would have that fund, that money that was being moved off to fees so that we could pay staff, deal with increasing health costs, deal with the infrastructure and other needs that we have here. I understood we wouldn't be losing it. Why are we losing it?
So we're losing a portion of it. So when you go to do this adjustment, you have to take the money that you paid for those services in 2013, and you have to take those out of your levy. And for us, back in 2013, we were paying $91,000 for fire protection service. As of last year, we were paying $144. So the money that we would be freeing up, if you will, in the levy was the difference between what we were actually paying and what we were paying as of 2013, when this levy limit summary exception went into place. So we are freeing up basically the difference between what we were paying in 2013 and what we're being charged now no longer has to come out of the levy. The fees this year went up by $20,000, which is now we'd be paying $164,000. So had we not done this, to your point, we would having to be coming up with $20,000 extra in our levied budget to pay for these fees. By making this change, we've got approximately $72,000 that's now available for other things that used to be used to pay for the fire protection. So you'll see the levy goes down, but you'll see the overall revenues went up. It's a bit of a cup game.
Government financing.
What's that?
Government financing.
Yeah. So if we look on the published schedule, our levy went down, but only by that, it went down by the 90,000, not the 144 that we had paid previously. Yet we're able to charge that 165 for the new contract in 2026. So even though our levy went down by 4.31%, our total revenues at the bottom of that line is actually increasing by 9.72.
And thank you, Gina.
yeah,
Thank you.
and-
I think I get that now. And so we've got a little bit more capacity. And then the mill rate went down because the property valuations went up.
The mill rate went down because the levy went down. So the mill rate is tied to the levy.
But they went down at inconsistent amounts.
Right, because the mill rate, the levy was decreased by the fire dues and then increased by the new construction. So it's not as quite a one-for-one as what it appears here. And I'm happy when we go through the details in the November meeting, we'll kind of walk through those dollars and show how they're moving from one line item to another in that budget.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's confusing.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to C. Review request for movement of 2025 surplus operating funds to assigned funds for 2026 capital requests in 2025. Discussion, possible approval.
Stan, I move to reallocate $36,000 of budgeted funds within the police department budget from wages to equipment protective.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, John. Discussion? Here. Huh?
They-
Do you want to explain a little, Gina?
Yeah, I sure can. So within this previous years, we know we had budgeted for a position for a police officer. That police officer was filled, and then he later resigned halfway through the year. So there were additional funds that were set aside originally in the public safety area for wages that then were unused because that position wasn't filled until very recently. What's that?
I said we tried.
Yes, we tried, but it was not filled. So that left approximately $77,000 of available funds in that budget. So we had in the previous year of 2023, we had adopted a budget policy that talked about how the department heads can transfer money from one item within their budget to another item. And we gave that transfer, we put some limits on it, and that was in that $5,000 range. So when we looked at the amount of money that we have available, when you don't spend that money drops into that unassigned, and then in order to use that money, then we have to go through this process to move it from unassigned to assigned back into the budget, or you can just move it within that year's budget to a different line item. Because of our policy, anything over that $5,000 mark had to be approved by the board. So what we're approved through finance and what we're asking for is for $36,000 of that $77,000 to be moved for these, for the upgrading, it was this one, the upgrading of the handguns to add a red dot sight in them. So our current handguns only have an iron sight, and this would replace 3 of the upgrades for that $36,000. So we're just looking to transfer that money out of salary and into protective equipment so that they can make those purchases this year with those funds.
Thank you. Anybody other questions or comments?
I will just note that by approving this, the police department and public safety is not coming forward with any other additional capital purchases at this time for 2026. This would cover anything that they were going to request for 2026.
Sounds good. Well, as a spending, so Mary?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Item D, review request for sewer fund balance loan reimbursement, discussion possible approval.
Stan, this motion is seeking approval to move $75,000 from the Sewer Replacement Fund 201 back to the General Fund 101 to pay back the money that was previously transferred.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
I second.
Thanks, Barb. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, so this was the motion I was referencing earlier when we saw that negative $167,000 in that one sewer account. So this was as a result back in 2018, this money was moved out of the general fund to the sewer replacement fund to cover a shortage because there was a lack of payments that were being received at that time. There were some conversations and discussions with the city. There were some bills that were coming out of that fund, but no money going into it. So the board at that time had approved $75,000 be transferred over to that fund to cover those fees. It never got paid back. And so with the consolidation again on the horizon, we're looking to just move those funds back to make that account whole. And then again, we can choose, we'll bring it back to this group the recommendation would be to combine the 2 sewer accounts, again, leaving a balance of about $328,000 in that sewer account. At this time, it's not been determined whether or not those reserves would stay with the village or move to the city as a part of the consolidation. I will say at this point, it's not being requested that those funds move, so we would potentially have those funds available to do future sewer projects, or maybe use as an incentive for some of the remaining properties to encourage them to begin to do development. So the 40 acres up above, et cetera, we could potentially use those funds to help get those projects moving for sewer. But that would be a decision for this group.
Okay, any other questions for Gina or any other discussion?
Question? So is the money the reason that the money was originally transferred, the lack of payment, is that being resolved in the consolidation agreement?
It is, it has been resolved, and we have been receiving the payments. They've been going into this other 201 fund, don't ask me why. So the duplication of the 210 fund, the duplication of the two funds, I think, was not helping with the confusion. So we are whole with the city now as far as the back payments. At the time in 2018 was, the money was moved and was never moved back.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, it's not a spend, so all in favor of the request for sewer fund balance loan reimbursement, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Review request for movement of unused general funds for vehicle unassigned funds, discussion and possible approval.
Stan, this motion is seeking approval to move $30,000 from the 2025 General Fund 101 to the Vehicle Assigned Fund accounts.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
A second.
Thanks, John. Discussion?
This is something we attempt to do every year if there's funds available at the end of the year, and with their funds being available, we would like to request that we continue to build those assigned account balances, so when the time comes to purchase new vehicles, according to the schedule, there's money available and we don't have to take out a loan.
Yeah, we've been pretty good at that. I mean, or we've been blessed that
Lucky enough, yeah.
we've had
There we
the
go. Lucky enough
opportunity.
to afford that.
Okay, so, let's see, all in favor of the motion as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Review of proposed employee health insurance plan starting December 1st, discussion, possible approval.
Stan, this motion is seeking approval to offer 2 health insurance plan options to employees instead of the existing single option plan that is no longer available through the carrier.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a second?
A second.
Thanks, Barb. Discussion.
Yeah, so this is the second year in a row now we've come to the board for a health insurance plan change. The last time was that we were being removed off of a 10-year benefited plan to something, we had to move to something else. And now this year, that plan that we worked so hard to identify last year is no longer available starting 2025, 2026 season. So we started researching different offerings. If we allowed health partners to just map us to the most comparable plan, that was going to be that 12.5% increase, which was going to be very hard to overcome. We started looking into different plan options, working with our consultant, and we decided that some of the employees would benefit from a traditional plan without an HSA, while others, about half, would benefit probably more from an HSA high deductible plan. We looked into it, and it was determined that we could actually offer both and let the employees choose what is best for them, both from a monthly payment premium perspective as well as just overall risk. And so those plans, what we'd like to do is recommend that we move from that single offering to offering 2 plans. One is a $3,050 traditional plan, and the second is a $3,070 HSA plan. The increase to that for the village is comes out to be about 7% versus the 12.5 had we mapped directly over, which is about a $17,000 increase for the year for the village in premiums.
So Gina, the employees will stay where they're at, or they'll have a premium increase?
They could have a premium increase depending on which plan they choose, so it's a risk decision on their behalf. So instead of us making it for them, they can make that decision.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the proposed employee health insurance plan, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item G, review of proposed one-time retention incentive, discussion and possible approval.
Stan, this motion is seeking approval to offer a one-time retention contribution to select employees totaling $12,200.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Kirk. Discussion?
So this kind of came from finance, where we see all the hard work that our department heads have done. I didn't want you to speak for this.
Thank you.
So I really felt like I should step in for this one. We are so happy and excited with the leaders we have in our group. So this is our way of trying to say thank you. In the last 4 years, the finance and this board has done its best to try to ramp up our lack of ability to increase salaries for the years before that. So this is just another really big thank you to all of our department heads. We see all the work that you do for us, and this is our way of telling you how much we appreciate it.
Couldn't have said better myself. Thank you,
And this
Kirk.
doesn't affect, it's all, it was all kind of financed in different areas too. So it's not like we're pulling any money from different things. It's, they were able to kind of show us different areas, and the finance team could make it work.
All right. Brian?
Yes.
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 Thank you. And item H, finally. Review of proposed fire protection fees starting in 2026. Discussion, possible approval.
Stan, this motion is seeking approval from a levy-based payment of fire protection fees to a fee-based payment of fire protection fees starting in 2026.
Thanks, Brian. Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion or questions? Gina, any explanation?
Yeah, I think this is then the motion that supports the conversation earlier. So the thing that I will point out is that what the taxpayer will see is approximately $17 increase from 2025 to 2026. And that will help support the $20,000 increase we received from the fire department for their fee. You will see that it will look different. So instead of coming out of your income tax, the tax you're paying on your property, much like we saw last year when we had the stormwater fee added to the tax, your taxes, you will also see now a fee that is fire protection, and that will represent then this particular fee that we're looking at. And again, looking at about a $17 a year per household increase to help offset that increase of the fire protection.
Question, Gina. So this fee is being assessed by property ID?
It is being assessed by property ID.
And so it'll be the same for multifamily as single family, and it'll go to who's ever listed as responsible for the property taxes?
Correct. The other thing that this allowed us to do is it allows us to include properties in the village that did not previously pay property tax and therefore weren't levied. And now we will be able to collect from them as well to help offset the impact to the property tax holders. So the school district, some of the churches, some of the nonprofit, the nonprofit buildings and
Was it about
within the
90 of them?
village. It was, no, it was a little bit less than that. I can't think of.
Yeah, it's right around there, yeah.
Yeah, so those types of properties don't pay property taxes. And so when we were paying for fire protection out of the levy, the taxpayers were carrying the burden of the fire protection. With this, making it now a fee-based, we can now charge a fee to those buildings and businesses that were previously not paying.
So I think my question was, how are we charging that fee? How is it being billed and collected if it's not on the property taxes?
Sorry, great question. So they get an invoice for their stormwater, and they'll get an invoice for their fire protection if they don't have property taxes.
So separate from the utility bill, separate from the property tax bill, the stormwater bill plus fire protection bill.
Exactly.
And how have the collection rates been going on that?
Actually, 100% on the invoiced ERUs.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the proposed fire protection fees starting in 2026, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you. Public Works Committee recommendations. Chair update?
Stan, we had one item that we were going to discuss, and we realized that we could get that same information out without having a meeting, so it was posted on our Facebook site, and it went out through our text messaging system to everybody that signed up. The main question was, who are all these trucks running around the village? You know, they're doing all this. There's 4 different companies, and some of them working on fiber, some of them working on water, some of them working on Excel stuff, you know. So we decided just to send it out that way, instead of holding a meeting about it. And so that information went out that way, and that's all I got.
I'd like to add that, you know, with the leaves are finally, you know, mostly dropping, and since we have our own street sweeper now, I mean, hopefully we'll get the village will put it out on our website and our notifications that we're going to be sweeping the gutters and stuff like that, so that the catch basins don't plug up from the upcoming precipitation and everything. So, you know, hopefully people will pay attention.
We had some people saying, why are we doing it all at once? You know, and Matt came back and said, well, I could tell this group to wait till next year, or this group. And I'm like, let's just get it out of the way, and then we don't have to deal with all these trucks next year. At least not as many.
Yeah, it's you know, they've done a nice job of restoration, you know, any place
Yeah.
I've seen, you know.
It's a lot of maintenance, and I mean, between Excel and the rest of them, there's all this maintenance going on, and they're catching up on stuff, so.
Well, yeah, and if they get it, we're not gonna have all the power outages. I
Right.
mean, hello.
Well, based on what Excel did down on Galahad, they put up all new poles, and they lifted them wires up a lot higher, so they can't get, that's where we were getting a lot of outages down there on Galahad, because the wires get hitting the trees, so, yeah, it should help us.
Yep. And I know yesterday, we got our salt load in. How many ton, 100 tons or
192.
whatever
Yeah,
that we had, but,
that's a yearly thing.
we are, well, I realize that, but we are prepared for the upcoming.
Don't say that
Yeah, I
word.
was like,
No 4-letter words.
you doing to
There's
us?
nothing wrong with prepared.
I'm just saying no 4-letter words, like SN.
In a meeting? Huh?
No.
I would never. Okay, thank you, Brian. Item 10, public safety. Dusty, what do you got for us?
Yes, Dan, we met, had a great meeting. We did have a nice little presentation with first responders, St. Joe, and the Hudson Fire Department to go over first responder services and, you know, just kind of a little continuation conversation of that going on, which we're going to continue following up next week as well. So we'll have a little more information going on with that. We had talked about possibly doing one-sided no parking on Galahad, but we decided to leave that topic in the ditch for another time. And then that was pretty much it, did budgeting. But good meeting. So we'll have a little bit more next time. Encourage people to look online for our agenda.
Thanks, Dusty. Item 11 is Public Welfare Committee recommendations. Kirk?
We did not meet, and we don't have anything to bring forward.
And item 12, Park Board. Mary?
Thank you, President Wecken. The Park Board met, and the topics, we don't have anything to bring forward, but the topics that we discussed were memorial benches, and Gina and our Public Works Director are aware of the interest of the Park Committee in getting a program similar to other municipalities where there's some policy built around the ability of community members to purchase a park memorial bench in honor of someone. So we'll be following up on that. We also had the Bike and Pedestrian Trail Coalition come and talk regarding some options through Landmark Conservancy for conservation easements. They also gave an update on the potential of having a joint park board meeting between the city and the village, and the park board is interested in that option, so we'll be working towards getting that established. And also, one of the commissioners on the park board is also on the plan commission and brought forward the questions from the plan commission that regarding Browns Beach. And I did share back with Gina that that was something that I felt that the park board would turn back to the village administration and the village board if necessary, as we discussed during the plan commission. And then the last thing was we reviewed the St. Croix County Outdoor Recreational Plans public hearing, which is scheduled for November 20th at 5 p.m. at St. Croix County Government Center, and talked about some of the places where the county's outdoor recreational plan intersects with plans for the village and how we can have input into that, and then also really use that plan to expand and extend our own planning at the village park board. That's it.
Alrighty then, thank you, Mary. Let's see, 13. We are adjourned at 6:51.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.